Davey, you're very welcome.
Hi, Sean. How are you
How are you?
keeping?
Not too bad, Ad. I just want to thank you very, very much now. I'm actually really looking forward to this chat. I have been, growing up, I am watching you play ahead of me. I've been a huge fan of yours, like from a young age, and even to get on to county level and get playing and sharing so many years with you, it was an honour as well. So I'm really looking forward to delving in and having a good chat with you about just about the whole county experience together, and of course your own life in GAA to date. So
Yeah, it'll
how are
be
things with Johnny? All good.
all good, Sean. Yeah, we're all just kind of adhering to government guidelines and kind of keeping our distance. But it's been strange times going from training with the club the last in January, February to just kind of doing your own little bits and pieces on the side.
I know
Strange
it's
times, yeah.
very difficult. Like, and I suppose you're kind of motivated for the first while, and then it gets quite monotonous then, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, I suppose when the day when it's pushed back, like it's kind of you don't know when the club scene is going to start, if at all. It looks kind of doubtful for 2020.
Yeah. What would you like to see yourself? Would you like to
Let's.
see a return, or would you be nervous about it? Or
I suppose when there's no vaccine and there's no, cure available at the moment, you'd be worried with about 30 lads plus in the dressing room, and then going back home to meet family members and stuff like that. So it's kind of, I
yeah,
suppose, you just be
and
kind
like
of cautious.
there's so much to consider with the GA. Like when you think about dressing rooms, like even 30 fellas in a dressing room, then you're thinking about gloves.
Yeah.
You're thinking about all sorts of, like, there's so many aspects of it you have to take into consideration before you make a decision to go back and play. It's
Oh, it's huge then as well. Like we all used to be using the six
what.
water bottles and kind of there's the little things you take for granted, but I think it'll be quite a while yet before there's any GA activity in Longford.
Exactly, especially that lad that have all the water drank.
depending,
We all have one of them.
depending on what he's doing the night before.
True, true. A Sunday morning was always a good telltale sign. Did we move on? Let's
Oh yeah.
go through some of your accolades first here, before we move on any further. So just see the Sigerson medal. Look, it's a very unique medal to have, and there's very few that has them. I know my own club mate, Mickey Quinn, won one there in the last couple of years. What was that memory like for you?
It was good. It was down in Sligo IT. I was doing business and accounting. There were some great people on it. Damien Sheridan, the Longford goalkeeper, and myself for the two Longford guys, and then you had the likes of Jap Finley from Monaghan, you had Rory Gallagher from Mana, you had a number of lads from Mayo, you had Christy Toy, Carol Lacey. These lads were on the bench, but they went on to win another Sigerson, I think 2 years later. But that Sigerson, we had Martin McHugh from Donegal over us. He was really very, very good coach, very smart.
It's great competition that way, isn't it? Like the experience of playing with players like that.
It is, yeah, and it's a unique thing over a weekend. It was, and it was held in Sligo that year. But it's great memories, and I suppose anytime you meet lads at big games or in Croke Park, you always kind of reminiscing on that time, and it was a great memory to have and a great medal to.
It's a very special medal. Yeah,
back.
it really is. Fair play. And then you have your three county senior championships, which are a sacred medal in Longford. They're so hard won.
It's funny you mentioned that. Like it was about 2 or 3 years before I retired. Remember, or it was actually maybe a bit longer. I was coming on the bus with Park Davis, and he says, enjoy every one of them. He says because they're so hard won, and he couldn't have said a truer thing, because when we won 2 in a row in 03 and 04, you just thought it was going to happen every year. But
because you had a phenomenal team then as well, a really strong team.
We had a very strong team. We were probably minor championships in '98 and under 21 championship in 2001, and we went to the county final in 2002 and were beaten by Ballymahan. Frankie Dolan had transferred from St. Bridget to Common. I actually met him there about a couple of months ago, and just talking about it, but I'd have a couple of I'd have another championship if he wasn't around anyway.
Yeah, that was
He was
mad.
in,
How many years was he at Ballyman at that time?
I think it was 3 years. I think it was 02, 03, 04.
Yeah,
Now,
I
but
think we
that
lost in
that
the
county
semi-final
final,
to them, 0-2, I think.
yeah, himself and Trevor Smullen were big stars in that team, and they kind
Yeah,
of made things happen,
they linked up well. And then your 5 Leader Cups, I actually spoke to Bull Masson about this the other day. We were just saying, the Leader Cup, what was once, you would say, it was a very special competition, has kind of lost its pedigree a bit in the last couple of years. I think we were kind of just talking about the time of the year it's played at, and what's your thoughts on that?
Well, it's just kind of, you imagine with the number of teams in Longford that it can't be fixed in a bit earlier, and get the league played off a lot earlier, because playing the Leader Cup at the end of after the championship, it's all right for a team that might be in the county final in October or September, but for the team that might maybe knocked out in August or whatever, it's very hard to keep lads motivated and interested, and it's usually the team that be in the county final that will go on to win the Leader Cup, a double, but no, it needs to be ran off a lot earlier, but
Yeah, it's like we've been
the
saying it
system,
for years now, and there's still no change.
still no change. There's only 10 or 12 teams in Longford playing for the Leader Cup. I just can't figure out for life of me why it can't be.
No, we'll be trying to figure it out for a little while, I feel.
Well, I'd say before that was sorted, I'll be in the boots again.
You might come back and give it a lash that it was earlier in the year.
I was talking to my cousin Brendan Barden on the Longford team at 66 and 68. He played till he was 45 with a team in Dublin, so I have a few years yet. So
oh Lord, you no chance at all. I wonder how Paul feels about that. He'd be next to mine or Andy even.
Yeah, well, Paul and Rich are expecting another member to the family, so
it's fantastic.
In end of the year. So I'm not sure. Maybe he'll be glad to get out. Keep him going another few years. I'm not sure.
The squeeze is definitely on him.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Great stuff. And then the minor championship again, another medal that can be taken for granted, but it's another one that's very hard won.
No, that was one of the. I remember that day, Sean, like it was yesterday. It was probably one of the best. With my first senior medal, with my eldest brother ended up being captain in 02, but the minor championship in '98, we had a real tough campaign. We played a Killyshee Recline team in the semi-final, and Killyshee were our neighbours here with Clonguish, and we got over that game by a point in Ballyman. We went on to play Granard. I think they were going for 8 championships in 11 years, and we're underdogs. And I was in a full forward line with Peter Waters, who was passed away, and Shane Brennan, who has passed
away. God.
So the 3 of us were in the full forward line. I scored 2 points that day. Peter Waters scored 2, and so did Shane Brennan.
That's unbelievable.
We were beating Granard by 17 points with about 15 minutes gone in the second half. We ended up just winning by 4. So the full-time whistle came just we were starting to collapse. It was a very hot day, but it was a great day at that minor championship.
Yeah, and just when you're talking about the 2 lads there as well, like that's it's bittersweet, but it's such a lovely memory to have as well.
Yeah, they were great. Shane was he's very, very heavily involved in home farm in Dublin with the soccer. He went for many trials with them, and he was some talent, and then he got then Peter Waters. He was very at full forward. He was very physically strong, He had lots of football in him, and he was. That's just sad to see the 2 lads that are not around,
Yeah, how happy was Peter now to have David Barden and Shane Brennan running around either side of him?
Not sure, but
you boys do work.
We were doing the work. Yeah, I know, but he was. That was a great day and a great day for the parish. All right.
Yeah, great stuff. And then we have which we're fortunate to be a part of together, our Division 3 and Division 4 National League campaigns. They're great memories as well. To get into Croker any day.
Oh, it was huge for Longford. I suppose we've been stuck at the bottom of Division 4 and for many years. Glenn Ryan came in, them years of Porrick Davis and John Fay, and I suppose between them few years and the few years with Dennis Connaughton in 03 and 04, are my best memories in a Longford jersey. But the Division 4 title was it was great to win. We put a lot of work in there.
Massive.
Massive work, as you know, on and off the field. Glenn changed the mindset of a lot of us in there.
He did. He did.
I think it was at Roscommon we beat that year in the Division 4 final.
Yeah,
was it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was in 4, and then it was Wexford in 3. Yeah, Division 3.
Yeah, but it was they were great days, because Longford don't experience many days in Croke Park and lifting a national trophy. So, and it's good for the youngsters to see the Longford jersey being floated around Croke Park and flags being, it's just kind of something surreal, but great memories to look
definitely savor, because sometimes it takes a while to just stop and go. To get there was amazing. To win there was even better again.
Yeah, it started early in October. Glenn decided he was going to have us the fittest team in Ireland. And I'd say he was true to his word. We had Dave here and we were doing the strength and conditioning, and we were hopping off the ground.
You look back at yourself, you wonder. Sure, we were turned into machines, in a way.
Yeah, the gymming we were doing was
sick stuff.
It was fairly tough. Now, at one point, I started.
It's an understatement.
I was wondering, was it the UFC I should be training for? When I look back, and at one stage I got into my car, and I couldn't get the safety belt across. I couldn't twist my shoulders. I was that rigid. It was just we probably took the gym too serious and probably should have done a little bit more out in the field.
Go on.
I ended up missing both league finals.
That's right.
Torn hamstrings and just not having my body in the right place.
Yeah, that was very tough for you personally, because you played such a massive role in our journeys to the one point, you would have given up the whole league campaign to play in that game.
Oh, there's no doubt. Talk to any Mickey Quinn, Paul, Bernard McIlvany, Shane Mulligan, all them that play Damien Sheridan. That's where you wanted to play. You wanted to play your best game on that day. But it was a sickener, all right, to miss both of them.
But I always admired the way you dealt with that, though, too, because you were obviously disappointed, devastated, but you kept your shoulders to the wheel and you kept ploughing on, and it was just a great example to us around you. I have to say that.
Yeah, we had a good with great spirit in the camp them years, Glenn was a great man to motivate.
There was enjoyment, wasn't there? There was a lot of enjoyment.
It was great enjoyment. I think bringing Dave here in to do the strength and condition at that time, he brought it on another level or two, and we all kind of benefited from it,
Yeah, big time. And then you have experience, Dave. You're playing in Division 1, which is, tell me about that.
Yeah, that was huge. We were, from what I can remember now, I think we were in 2A, and you got promoted from 2A to 2B, and the teams that were in 2B got promoted to 1B. But we had to play Derry in Ballymahan, which is Longford's second ground for playing inter-county games, and it was, I can tell you, we made it difficult for them anyway. Had to try and find Ballymahan first of all.
Then find the pitch.
Find the pitch, yeah. But it was a really hot day, and it was kind of Ballymahan had a very decent crowd there. Yeah. So not a lot of people expected us to beat Derry that day. Dennis Connaughton was over us, and Jamesy Martin got a goal that day, which was vital to getting us promoted to Division 1.
Bad conditions that day, was
next
it?
Year in the Derry game for the year before that, Sean.
The Derry game.
We got promoted. That was a good day, but the day the Derry game. No, it was actually a good day in Ballyman, I think, from what maybe my memories. But no, it was kind of it was a great day. Like I think we bet them by a point or two, like, you know. But I just remember James, he had a great game that day.
It was a great spot for Longford to play in. Like, we also got good results there, you know.
Yeah, maybe it took the pressure off than playing in Paris Park. I don't know,
Yeah, it's
Sean,
hard.
but it was
It's hard to know. Yeah.
we all had a great. Well, you know, everyone kept their best game to last, and to get promoted to Division 1, to play the likes of Kerry and Mayo and Dublin and all them teams is brilliant, you know.
Yeah, super. Yeah, I was actually had Stevie Lynch on the other day, and we were talking about his famous moment, famous goal.
Yeah, he has a habit of, even when you'd be playing him, when he was playing with Granard, he'd always had a kind of a tendency to kind of wander upfield, and he got his fist to that last ball, which was it was a great day. You know, we had, you know, just to play the likes of them, because you don't play them. You know, I often say to Paul that if you were playing them teams, you know, on a monthly basis, or even play them yearly, you mightn't be as fearful as playing them. You know, sometimes you play these teams, but that day Dennis Connerton had as well coached a game plan, and it came off. You know, we went on to beat Westmeath the next day in Cusack Park and Mullingar, and Paddy O'Shea was over at the time, and they went on to win their first Leinster title that year. But then we had a few tricky runs. We had to go away to Mayo, but we ended up actually getting. We lost out in scoring average to Westmeath, and we got relegated then that year. But it was a great
experience.
Times.
Yeah, great times. Yeah, I also say with those big games, those massive games in Pearse Park, they're like your All Ireland finals, really, when you look back, aren't they? Like they're.
Yeah, because I suppose everybody in Longford knows nearly 1 to 20 on the opposing teams, the likes of the Kerrys, the Dublins, the Mayos, you know. And there's most people that know the top 3 or 4 people in Longford players, you know. But no, it's a kind of a fortress, and a lot of people know that with Longford coming to Pearse Park. It brings out the best, whether it's in the qualifiers now or the one-off championship games. There, it's a special place, all right. Hard to win.
Sure, great stuff. Thanks, David. Okay, tell me about football in the Barden household. David Barden, Paul Barden, and the Barden. What was it like for you growing up?
We had a neighbour up the road. His name was Tommy Nevin, a great Clonguish man, and he was in our house from very early on. Himself and Mick Mulvey, telling us how many championships the likes of Pat Burke, Brennan's father, would have won. He would have won 8, and so we were hearing this from about, I don't know, my earliest memory, maybe 7 or 8. But you just kind of be listening to your cousins, Dad's cousins, Brendan Barden and Pat Barden and Pat Burke and all these people, Seamus Flynn, Longford, during that successful time of 66 and 68, Clonguish had a lot of players on the Longford team at that time. I suppose you'd heard it every time in our house on a Sunday evening or after a big game. You know, you'd be reminiscing about old times. So I suppose from early on, there was you wanted to emulate these guys. Yeah, you wanted to emulate them and dream about getting into Pearse Park and playing in a county final, and but it was let's say it was just kind of everything. Like, really, there was an odd hurley or two Paul might have messed around with, but predominantly football out in the back garden.
The three of you. The three of you playing ball out in the back garden, you would.
Yeah, but if Enda got angry, you'd kind of have to you'd have to make a run for it. He's the biggest of the Bardens, but no, it was but kind of Enda started out like playing with Longford and playing Railway Cup, and that's when Railway Cup was held in high regard.
Yeah,
big numbers. So Enda is 9 years older than me, so kind of had a lot to live up to with him leading the light.
He was leading the way. Yeah.
Yeah.
And would you have been? Was it just that minor? Did you mention earlier on about that? What team was it in 2002? Sorry, was when Enda was captain.
Enda captained the team, the Burren Cup team. Well, actually, An unfortunate incident happened in Cusack Park, Mullingar that day. There was an incident with Rory O'Connell, the midfielder for Westmeath. I suppose you go back and look at the video, you'll see there was kind of a incident where Enda retaliated and got a red card. So unfortunately that day, Longford won that Byrne Cup.
That's right. I was actually at that game as a young lad. Yeah.
Yeah, and but Conor Connerty lifted the cup. He was vice captain, but it was just kind of bittersweet, like, you know. But it was a great day for Longford. But look at it was kind of funny, just one of these things in the moment. He probably obviously regretted what he did, like, but Longford went on to win.
Yeah, it's funny then, like, you know, when we talked earlier about the National League finals then as well, in a way it's kind of similar to your own scenario, you know, getting to that point where you just wanted to play, the pinnacle of the competition.
Yeah, you'd nearly go, you'd love anything to go back, but you can't reverse, like, you know. It's kind of, you have to move forward and be positive about the situation. But, like, I suppose 2 years later we got into a county final. Okay, we lost, but the next year we went around and we hadn't, with Clonguish, we hadn't won a county title, so that was kind of a big moment in the Barden household. And lifted the championship, the Colony Cup, for the first time since 1981. So that was a great moment for Enda personally, and just the people in Clonguish, or, you know, all the lads on the team. But yeah.
So you and Paul would have played more football together growing up underage.
Yeah, because there's nearly 3 years between myself and Paul. So when we won that minor championship, I was just under 16, you know. So we played a lot of football together, and then Enda and Paul would have started out their county careers. Paul, I'm not sure what year Paul started, but there was a few others. Paul is, I better not give away his age, but
I tell you, I remember after that O'Byrne Cup win, I remember my father bringing me into the Longford Arms to meet the players, and he brought me into Paul, and Paul was 18 that time.
Oh, yeah, 18, yeah.
Like that's how young he was.
Yeah, there was but he'd watched Enda for a few years. There were kind of it was, you know, I remember playing Dublin that year in Pearse Park. They weren't expected to beat Dublin either, but it was a real messy day. Johnny McGee and Jason Sherlock and a few lads like that were playing for Dublin. Because, as people know, Dublin usually don't bring their first team to the pre-season tournament.
Certainly not now, but back then probably there was
a few more regulars. Yeah. But no, that was a great day for Longford. Yeah,
it was. I loved that team, that O'Byrne Cup team. It's just like, I've always memories, you know, attached to go and see I've seen so many games. Like, I used to love watching.
Yeah. There was outside of the national, now maybe I stand to be corrected, but outside of the league titles in 11 and 12, the Byrne Cup that was won this year, like, you know, so there was a huge gap between, you know, from 2000 up.
I always think of these lads that represent Longford for years and years, and, you know, have no silverware to show for it. Like, you know, like that can so easily happen, and you feel so grateful that then, you know, when we were in a position to win silverware, we took it, you know, and it means an awful lot more, because you can go easily years there and have nothing to show for it.
Yeah, sure. You can even see it in club teams as well. Like, you can just all about timing, you know. But I think, like, when you look back, it's really nice kind of to have a Division 3 and Division 4 medals, and to have represented your club and your family in Croke Park, and you know, we kind
special.
Of, you know, it's kind of it is special. Yeah, it definitely is, because it doesn't happen very often, so that's why it makes it even more special, you know.
Yeah, of course. And as a young lad, Davey, like, coming up, did you feel, you had Paul ahead of you and Enda ahead of you, did you feel pressure from a young age?
And the things could have been a little bit easier anyway. But there were Enda had played on Railway Cup teams, played with Longford, captain Longford, Paul then as well. Like, so they were kind of
they were laying down the mark.
Paul, yeah. It's a marker. I probably how should I say it? But it was difficult. But it's something to kind of that inspire you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Kind of they were going on, so it was it was easier as well to go to training too. Like, if things were going wrong or you weren't getting picked, they were easier. You'd bounce things off them, and they'd say keep the head up. When I went into the Longford team, I wasn't a regular starter. I was getting in and out. I think my first year I was in there. I think Porrick Davis was injured, and Michael McCormick, which went on to manage Clonguish, he brought me in that year. So look, it was kind of a learning curve for me. But any bad days, the lads would set you straight, and if you had any good days, they keep your feet on the ground. That's for sure.
If you don't mind me asking, what do you mean that set you straight?
Like, there's some days you might just have a bad day. There's many days where you could be you could have been taken off for somebody else. You could have been substituted. You might have been started. You know, I experienced that a lot with my Longford career. I suppose not so much with Dennis Connaughton or Glenn Ryan, but with the in between management team. Yeah, for whatever reason, I just kind of couldn't nail down a spot. So I kind of, and it's disappointing, because I suppose in your own head you're thinking, yeah, you should be playing or you should be. But look at a manager has his own view on things, and he has his own selectors, and they're just kind of going with a hunch on that particular day or that particular,
Yeah, and I suppose at that age, we don't really have the perspective to realize that, okay, look, we're not making it now, but we're not too far away. It's like you want to be in straight away, and anything other than that is just frustrating and disappointing.
Yeah, it's kind of not saying you can't put an old head on young shoulders.
Yeah.
Like, you just kind of. But look at Enda and Paul were very encouraging to me. They always kept me going. Always made it. There always said to be better days ahead. And there was tough days ahead. But I suppose at that particular time, it's kind of you're trying to figure out, why, or what do I need to do to get, But
it's very encouraging though. It's very encouraging that you had those role models in your life to bring you along. Would you have been someone who would have put a lot of pressure on yourself anyway?
Well, in general,
would you?
I would prefer to see the lads having a better. Well, Sean, I kind of was I wouldn't have been a scorer. There was probably more pressure on the two boys to get big scores or to get, to kind of change games, if they were going away from you. I often came home and I was actually happier the two boys played well than I kind of,
yeah.
I felt that they kind of were maybe putting in more into the Longford setup than I was. But
was there an expectation on you then?
That's what I kind of thought at the time.
Because the lads were such dominant scorers, was there a pressure? Was there an assumption that you would be the same, that you are the same type of player?
No, I think from early on, even with my Clonguish, in 2000 and 2001, I started playing for the senior team. I was a different player. I was more of a wing forward, come back, getting balls, supplying the forward line, dispossessing people. I was never an out and out scorer, and I don't think I practiced enough to be someone like yourself or Paul to get scores on a regular basis, 5 or 6 points. It's just I was actually happier probably going the other way. But
well, I think if you're being honest, I think you always had that ability. I think you probably yourself accepted an alternative role and you worked on that rather than.
Yeah, I was actually happy. I was actually happier doing that. It didn't faze me too much whether I scored or not. In them years, even with the time with Dennis Connaughton, kind of winning primary ball, and you had Niall Sheridan and Porrick Davis and Paul and Trevor Smullen, Jamesy Martin. They were nearly all scorers, So no, I didn't. I didn't mind it, but I definitely worked on.
It's funny you say that, because just when you talk about the, you were okay with not scoring. I talk about when we're of a young age, if you're coming home from a football match, nearly the first question that's always asked of you is, "Well, did you score?" And if you did, if you didn't, you're like, "No, I didn't, but I did other good things, But I kind of they didn't want to hear about it.
No, yeah, it's kind of like a cousin of my father's, Pat Burke, always say any good forward or to saw should be able to score 2 points. So
My Uncle Tommy would say the same, yeah.
yeah, so it's kind of look at it's kind of just at the time, with different teams, you might be required to do different things. And like with the Longford team, I was playing on Glenn Ryan's time with Sean McCormick, Paul Barden. We had Bernal McInvanny midfield. We had just scores. Now there's lads I'm not thinking of there now, but we had loads of people that could kick the ball over the bar. So my role was kind of more defined in going back and, helping out the back line and kind of carrying it forward. Yeah.
Football was evolving too, wasn't it? A bit like back.
It was, yeah.
Back before then, it was like backs are backs, you defend, end of story. Forwards are forwards, you're there for scoring, end of story.
Yeah, that surely, yeah. It was kind of, there was a set six and a back six, and you nearly didn't move out of that,
Yeah, maybe it was a good thing you couldn't cross the white lines. So, yeah, and you were captain of Mel's, Davy, as well, weren't you?
I was captain of Mel's, yeah. I really don't think I had a good time in Mel's, as in my football terms. I don't think I developed as a footballer or or as a captain. We had great teams back then, but we always seemed to meet St. Pat's and Navan, and Declan Rowley was over us at the time. But there was we had good days, and we had Gary Kenny, and there's a few lads from Westmeath.
I remember that.
Stephen Lynch was in there. There was a load of top footballers in there at the time, but for whatever reason, we didn't seem to get across the line, But Pats and Avon, any year we met them, they had an extremely strong team.
Yeah, they were very talented that year. Now I think it was the year you captained Mel's. Was that your final year, was it?
Yeah, we had all the guys from Meath. I can't think of their names at the moment. I think Joe Sheridan might have been on it. There was the 2 lads from midfield, 2 brothers.
There was a centre forward that day, Pats and Avon. He was outstanding, actually.
You can't recall his name, no?
No. I just know he was number 11. He sticks.
Yeah, I think that was him. Yeah, he caught some great ball from midfield. Yeah. I think he could have been McCaig. His brother. Yeah, his brother played with Meath as a corner back, but he would have been a centre forward midfielder. Yeah.
Yeah. So you were at this point, I suppose, Davey, you were edging close then to your county call-up.
County call-up, yeah. That was 2000. It was Porrick Davis had been injured, as I said earlier, and I got a call in from Mick McCormick. I think we were playing Carlow in a league game in Longford. A horrible day.
And can you explain that to me? You get your call in. Like, what's going through your mind?
Well, I was worried about going in, having lads kind of wondering who this lad is. Of course, when you have your brothers playing on the same team, there's kind of, there is people thinking, is he good enough to be in there?
There's an expectation as well.
Yeah, there's expectation as well, but I was kind of nervous as well, kind of going in, talking out with lads that you've looked at for 10 years, 10 or 12 years, Niall Sheridan and these guys, Trevor Smullen, Gavin Tundra, Carl Connerfy. So look, it was kind of.
And how did they receive you, Davey?
Well, I kind of just kept quiet. As anyone knows, as your first few years in the county team, you kind of just go along with, there's always leaders in a team, and you take your place in the dressing room. You listen and learn,
And do you think you were looked upon as, oh, look at this fella coming in now, was it an open environment where, lads wanted to see you thrive, or did you feel like it was a dog-eat-dog scenario where you had to fend for yourself, nail down your own place?
I don't know. Looking back, it might have been like it, but at the time, I felt everyone was very open and welcome to me. They were nice lads. Like I was I was very young at the time, so it was just a lot of nerves and excitement on my half. I hadn't expected to be starting a regular or just coming on, in case for an injury or two, but kind of there as a replacement more than anything. But no, it was kind of you nearly forget these days. You got talking out. It was kind of with sitting down beside Pádraig Davis and David Hannafy, great footballers. So it was kind of
Yeah,
great memories.
it's a massive moment in your career, really, isn't it? Like these lads you're watching and looking up to, and next thing you know, you're sitting in the dressing room beside.
Well, you're just
them.
hoping. You're just hoping that when you go out on the field, you do the right thing.
Yeah.
You don't give away a ball, or you don't make a mistake which can cost a game, or you know what I mean.
Yeah. Would you think that's would that be a personal expectation of yourself? Like, do you think a player should be thinking that way going out onto a pitch?
No, but at that time, it's the way I thought.
Yeah.
And if you were playing with my two brothers, you're.
Okay.
I can tell you what. There was their expectation. We had our cousins and our people that had gone before us, so we had kind of a reputation to uphold, but trying to play as best we could, but look, it's kind of I suppose a young lad shouldn't be thinking like that, but
at that time it's different.
Back then, back that time it was people were very blunt.
Absolutely.
They said what they were thinking.
Didn't mince their words. And Davey, sure, when you look back on your county career, what kept you going? Like, what drove you over the years? Like, what had you something in particular you played for?
I suppose Paul kept me going a lot of the time. But after Enda retired, there was a lot of times I felt I was going to just, I'm not sure if I felt it. I was playing my best football when I was playing with Clonguish and not with Longford. But that might have changed in a few years when Glenn Ryan was there. Still don't think I achieved what I wanted to achieve. But look, at the end of the day, you're dealt the hand you're dealt, and you have to make do with it,
Paul was always a massive inspiration.
You kind of look at he got many big injuries and bounced back from it, and I suppose I had to kind of adapt, and I suppose the strength and conditioning side of things when I came in with Dave here in 2010 and 2011, I just bought into it, and I bought into it big time, and I benefited from it too, to a huge extent, because but maybe my football took a backseat. You know what I mean? It was kind of maybe it should have been a bit more tailored to me. I was kind of maybe over the top with it.
It was the unknown, really.
It was unknown. We brought it to a new level with Longford that time. Anyway, Dave here, he was.
I said it before. I think he changed the whole thing. Like, he really did.
They converted the Slashers complex there in Longford, and we got our own gym, got all our own equipment, and you were doing your weight, your stretching and mobility, like that was back in 11, and then doing your weight session, and then doing out to do your gym session, and we had all our nutrition and everything, so it was spot on back then.
Exactly. And what did you enjoy most about playing?
What did winning. Because I wouldn't be a great man at losing, Sean. Just kind of for the effort and the commitment you put in, to not come away with something. I made some very good friends over the years. Probably I made lots of enemies too, but no. There were a lot of some big games we won. The games we won in Crow Park, Division 3 and Division 4 finals, beating Laois at home. It was a huge thing when we bet Laois that day because they were kind of a bogey side for us, you know.
Yeah, they really were.
I suppose another big thing in our house growing up, we always looked at the O'Shea's and Kerry and Colin Cooper and Seamus Moynihan. So that was a huge memory for us in 06 to go down to Kerry and play in Killarney. For me, anyway, it was brilliant.
And what was your parents' attitude towards football, David, if you don't mind me asking?
My father would be very when you go home to our house after a big game, whether it be county or club, if you played well, he'd be all chat. If you played bad, he wouldn't speak to you. So that my mother, my mother's last game was in 1998, when we played against Cashel Killyshee in that game I referred to earlier. From that day, she doesn't go to games. She just says a few prayers. And
what is it? Just would she be nervous watching you? Is it?
Yeah, exactly, Sean. Nervous that we get injured, you know.
Yeah, that's completely understandable, sure.
Yeah, totally. Like, you know, because and I think we went to Wexford Park. We went to New Ross to watch Enda Paul. That would have been 98, 99. We actually got Wexford 3 years in a row. So every year we would have, wherever Longford were playing the championship, we would have went and watched them, you know. But I was in the stand with my mother and father that day. I'm not sure if Enda or Paul went down. My mother put her hands to her mouth and said, "Oh God, what's after happening?" And my father made some remarks to my mother, which she didn't take kindly to, and she went out to the car anyway for the rest of the game. Which there was about maybe 10 minutes of the first half left, and they were all of the second half. So to finish that story is there wasn't a whole lot of talk in the car on the way home from New Rock.
You were the mediator, were you?
No, I didn't say anything, Sean.
Less bet. Everything was best left unsaid, says you.
Oh yeah.
And then from that moment on, then she that was her. Well, she.
Yeah, no, she didn't go to any games. She just didn't enjoy it. She still doesn't enjoy it, and we're kind of at the end of our careers. But like, it's kind of you know, she just, you know, we lost big games to the clubs, as you know, over the years, and she'd be disappointed for us, but once you'd be coming out injury free, she wouldn't mind, you know.
Yeah, well, she had the right perspective on it, hadn't she?
Yeah, we were just looking at her saying, what are you talking about? You know?
Will you come on and watch the game, you'd be grand. Yeah. But then I know, but wouldn't it be typical then that the game she would go to someone get injured?
Yeah. I suppose that was always her fear, like, you know, that was her worry. You know?
It's hard to change. It's hard to change someone when they think that way too, you know.
You know, I suppose the way the game over in the 2000s, the way it became so physical, like, you know, and she'd be hearing it like any parent, and she'd be listening, watching the Sunday game, and she'd see these collisions, and she'd be, I suppose that's what would be in her mind, thinking, I hope these lads, you know, get out of this match healthy and, you know, safe.
Well, you can't blame her. You can't blame her. And I suppose to talk, David, did retirement from county ever come into your mind? Was that something you ever thought about, or is that something that naturally just came about?
I never really, like, I suppose you don't think about them things until you, I suppose, when you start realizing maybe you're not getting played, or you're not, you know what I mean, or you start to pick up a number of injuries, or you're just not enjoying it, you know. Yeah. And for me, I suppose, I just, a few things weren't right, and I decided to leave it in 13, you know. I probably should have stayed on another year or two, but for a few different reasons, I decided to kind of just call it a day, and I went back to the club. But look, at these things happen, and you can't change them now, you know.
Yeah, something I always ponder. Like, I suppose when I was finishing up, it had been on my mind, because I suppose I had looked at lads before me who had kind of finished up and drifted off in one way or another, you know. And one thing that always struck me was the amount of service lads gave, and then they were just let go. You know, there was no sort of acknowledgement for them, you know, a sort of way, or appreciation, if we're being honest.
Yeah, like a lot of lads put in like 10 or 12 years into intercounty football. A lot of lads we know, like you look, you give Arthur O'Connor there from Apilar, or there's a number of people there.
So many,
you
yeah.
can think from Lish, Killow, Clonguish, Slashers, and the amount of time they give. You know, you could have a second job with the time you put into intercounty football. From what I'm hearing from Paul, it's at another level now, but it's it takes up a lot of time. It takes up a lot of time. But look, I think you do it because you enjoy it. And for me, I know I retired because I wasn't enjoying it. Not that I wasn't able to do it. I was able to do it, but I just wasn't enjoying it. And so look, that's where I came.
It's such a key ingredient, as you said there. When the enjoyment goes out of it, that's a real indicator.
Yeah, just kind of, you don't want to be. You just need to get, you don't want to be in there kind of,
for the sake of it,
not enjoying it and just, fed up with it. Like, it's better off to go back to your club and
because you're not in good form and you're kind of infectious then in the dressing room, and it's passing on to other fellas, and you're just not good it's not good for the overall morale of the team.
No, no matter what you may think, it's better to kind of get out of that kind of an environment and go to where you are enjoying it, because you don't want to be kind of annoying lads, or kind of, as you said, being infectious and kind of bringing people down with your, giving out the whole time, saying there's something wrong with this or something wrong with that. But
did you find that
some people retire?
Did you find that throughout your career, Davey? Did you find maybe at times that you might have got frustrated with the whole thing, or you mightn't have been enjoying it, but you persisted with it, and maybe that wasn't the right decision at that time to keep going, that maybe you needed little breaks here and there?
Yeah, well, I did take breaks in between my career, because I was playing with Michael McCormick when I started my career in 2000, and then Dennis Connerton, then Luke Dempsey and Declan Rowley came in as joint managers. I took a year break after that. Then I came back in with Glenn Ryan then. And there was a 2-year break I took between two different management teams, and I felt it helped me anyway,
There's something that's popping into my head there now as you say that. Were you called in at one stage? You were, after taking a break, were you called back in? Did you play one game, and go again then?
I think I did, yeah. That was, I think it might have been.
You scored a goal, or something.
Sean, would you believe it? I'm kind of. It could have been Luke Dempsey's time. Is that what you're thinking?
Maybe. I don't know. I remember. Did you come back for? No, this might sound. I could be wrong on my facts. Did you come back like for half a game or something? You scored an outrageous goal apparently, and.
I think I did, but I can't.
I was like, that is classic David Barden.
Yeah, I know, but like, kind of, it doesn't. The right thing to have done there was probably just stay away,
I know, but I suppose you didn't know. You were curious. You're like, you can be in limbo as well, and you don't know until you actually go into the environment, and then you know straight away, right? This just isn't for me at the minute. I have to get out of here.
Yeah, but like, it's easy. Kind of, once you're enjoying sport, everything is easy to do. Training is easy to do. Getting up for training Sunday mornings, going back Tuesday night, like it's, and you're kind of just in good form. You don't need very little motivation when the thing is right, and the setup was right. Once the setup was right, because I just found out with the likes of Dennis Connerton, and he was a great organizer himself, and Glenn Ryan were two very good managers. There's certain players that play for different managers. You know what I mean? They kind of see different things in them. But
of course,
no, kind of. I left. What was it, 2013? Because I think the enjoyment had gone out of it for me anyway.
That was a very tough year, though. That was very tough. We were in Division 2 that year. We were, after coming from 4 to 3 to 2, and we were losing games in Division 2 by a point and 2 points, and it was demoralising.
Yeah, it was. The confidence was very low, and I suppose everyone was kind of looking at someone else to pull us out of the hole that we're in. One win would have stopped the whole lot, but unfortunately we couldn't. No,
and then we did like all good teams do when they lose. We ran.
Yeah. But there was
we ran, but it was just there was those games were, it was marginal, like, and it was just we were playing tough opposition at the time, and we were coming so close, and we weren't getting anything out of games that we deserved to get something out of.
Yeah, and where we had luck in previous years, in 11 and 12, they seemed to have deserted us then,
Yeah.
And then a few injuries and just things. The glass seems to be half empty then instead of half full,
Sure.
But just little refereeing decisions or little maybe injuries to key players during that year that can turn a game when you really need it, and they're not there on the field.
Yeah.
But look at it, I suppose confidence is a huge thing in a team, and you often see with some of the teams that get promoted, the following year they can go on a losing streak of 4 or 5 games,
Yeah.
and their whole season is over, before they know it.
Yeah, you can sink very quick through the divisions, can't you?
Yeah, we seen
Back
Longford seem to be good at that, but at the moment they're in Division 3, so they can.
Oh, they're having
Seem
super
to be
year this year.
doing well.
Super, yeah.
Yeah.
So, what changes did you notice then straight away, Davy, when I suppose you had finished with the county, like in your life? What were the obvious things that you noticed there?
Well, I just suppose you have a lot more time,
Did you know what to do at that time?
Not really. I suppose kind of. I still don't feel. I do a small bit of coaching mom, but at the time I still don't. When you're playing, it's very hard to coach. I feel like wait until I'm completely retired to get involved in coaching. I don't mind doing real underage stuff, but coaching at a senior level, it's not something that appeals to me right now. But a lot of free time, but we could go and you can go on holidays, and not having to. I suppose with the county team, you need to be kind of honest and be upfront, and if you're going to commit in October, you're going to commit for the year. Can't be seen to be coming in and coming out.
Yeah, I could never do that.
And when you're not in, then then the club scene is kind of a lot more relaxed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you kind of, if you give an excuse to someone that you're gone for the weekend, it's kind of accepted. But with the county team, it's kind of just a little bit different.
Yeah, it can be stressful.
Yeah, and you just kind of. So I believe, like, you give it all or you give nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I don't think that'll ever
when
change.
The thing is right, you'll give everything.
Yeah. I think if you have everybody on your panel thinking that way from day one, it's half the battle.
Oh, it's half the battle, and you kind of know, with the atmosphere and the humor of everyone around, that things are right.
Yeah, I get what you mean about the coaching there when you're still playing. It's very hard to do both, like, because you're giving everything to your game still with your club. So it's very, sometimes when you're not involved with your club, you're not training, you're not playing games, you like to switch off too. I think that's important.
Well, you need to have have a wife or your girlfriend, or just have your own time, whether to go for a pint, go on holidays with the lads or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I think the one thing that players don't need on a panel is lads coming in and coming out and thinking they can come in and come out, or they're either make a decision either to stay away or go in and commit for the year, because it can annoy
I could never understand that. I could never understand lads that would do that.
Yeah, neither could I.
Like if you were like, or even to to say, look, I won't be in now, but I'll see you in February.
Yeah,
and then there's 25 lads bursting themselves around the pitch then in the winter months. And
yeah, it doesn't. It's kind of, lads are thinking, that man should be in there, doing the same thing,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a big impact.
But it'll be different if if you had a long year and you kind of.
Yeah, of course.
Some lads need a bit longer time, but unfortunately with Longford, it's the year is kind of does be over sometimes in June, July,
True, yeah.
So they have a lot long break, that they should know by come October time if they were going to prepare, ready to
true.
give a commitment.
Well, given your club situation, anyway.
Yeah.
Coolio, David. Coolio. I'm just looking here. Your greatest achievement to date. What would you say it is?
Getting married to Daphne Howard.
Good answer. And now in your sporting field.
I think the thing I liked the most was in 2001 we went to Navan. Excuse me. Went up to Navan to play Loud, and both Enda was centre forward, Enda was midfield, or was it Paul was centre forward, and I was corner forward. And there was a few occasions where the three of us played in the field, but memories like that with the three of us playing on the same team at the same time was a great time, you know. And I suppose you know, it's just kind of it's something you can relate to, you can chat back about, and for the family and for us, you know.
I suppose when you're growing up, you're all envisioning that, and then to see it come true.
Yeah, like, you know, there was a lot of work to get to that stage, you know. But look at it's kind of that was a kind of, and then my brother captain Clonguish to the first county championship in 2002. There were great scenes then, and my brother then again in 2009, Paul. So they were great times, you know. Things you'll never forget, you know.
I know, I cherish them. Very good, David. Very good. Now a few pictures here for you to have a look at. I'd like to start with the one in the middle, National League game, 2010, I believe, was it? Division 4, Pearse Park.
Right, yeah.
We're playing Kilkenny in the National League, and I think we've 2 wins and a draw under our belt, I think, at this stage. And this dressing room always makes me laugh because Glenn, in fairness, it must have been such a difficult job, because if you bet Kilkenny by 100 points, people will be giving out why you didn't beat them by 200.
Yeah, that's for sure.
You know, and you're trying to psych yourself up for this game, and in the back of your mind, you're going, right, Kilkenny, you know, what have they done, or what is their approach to this game, or, you know, you don't want to be that team that's going to be caught on the hop either.
No. But Glenn had us really well tuned in for that game to make sure we didn't slip up, and we didn't. We put them to the sword, and but
sure,
it was
there's 2 very funny memories from that day. I remember Glenn had us revved up and ready to go, and next thing I turn around and you were over the far side of the dressing room, and the sleeves of your jersey, you're after cutting, or I don't know who cut the sleeves off your jersey, but you were standing there with a sleeveless Longford jersey on there. And then all the chat was, we can't take to the field, this man will be fined.
Yeah.
I don't know where to root it out, the old Longford jersey, but I seen in the picture there. It was those tight-fitting ones we had at the time, but I think Dave Hare's work on you was to blame more so.
Yeah, Sean, we've done an incredible amount of gym work. And if you're ever, like myself and yourself, and there was a few of us that, Paul and Bernard McAvaney, Shane, look, there was a lot of us, we were all doing the same work, but as I said to you before, I probably took it to an extreme, and the jersey I couldn't fit the jersey on me, and literally wouldn't, you know. So and that explains
those gym sessions were, you think back, it was very funny. I remember going in one night. You were actually gone big into the weights at this time. Now I can't really talk either, because it became an addiction. It was such a new thing, you know, and you were kind of, if you weren't doing it, you felt like you were going backwards, and, you know, you were doing more work probably than we needed. But I remember coming into Slashers one night, and you were actually you went ahead into the gym yourself, and you were doing overhead shoulder presses with the barbell. And you had a crazy way on it, as usual. But Dave here was walking into the gym, and he just saw you. Like we were just heading in to do our activation work, you know, and you were in the thick of this heavy lifting. He just turned around and he looked at me and he just shook his head, as much to say, let him off.
That was after probably doing an hour gym session to Longford Arms. So,
probably, yeah. So you wouldn't be seen by any of us.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
going back to that Kilkenny game, I remember, we got over the jersey fiasco and we ran out onto the pitch. And I ran over to the lad I was marking,
yeah.
no, you're not talking, you're kind of tuned into the game. And he turns and he said, well, how are things? He said to me, I said, grand now. I said, you came down this morning. I said to him, and he goes, to be honest with you, he said, I got a call this morning to come down and play this game. I said, sure, why not? At least I get the dinner out of it. And I'm not messing. The psychological impact of that statement, I was like, what do you do with this, lad?
Well, the guy I was marking that day, he said he played for a Division 3 team, and all he does is play as hurling, but the county board had rang him too. So I was just kind of thinking, right, we just need to get this game out of the way, because
Yeah.
it kind of, these lads are just fulfilling a fixture for the county board in Kilkenny, but here's us not trying to slip up or kind of take them for granted. But
such an unusual scenario, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think in Kilkenny, a lot of their good footballers are their good hurlers.
Yeah.
So and they don't see a prospect or don't see a future with the football team. So
no, it's just shut
most
up.
of them are in, So yeah.
And then this iconic photograph of you and the linesman, I just think it just sums up your passion, and the drive. And even before all those games, you'd just be humming, we played outside ourselves, really,
Yeah, we did. I was marking Ricey McManaman that day in Pearse Park, but actually who I was after hitting the shoulder to was the full back for Tyrone, McMahon. And but I thought the ball had touched him last, but kind of got a bit heated, all right.
What amazes me, whose hand is that in between you and him?
It's Glenn Ryan.
Glenn was always in the right place, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah. Glenn was...
and he didn't flinch. The linesman didn't even flinch.
No, but he probably has seen me before playing, so look, he probably passed.
Well, if you ask me, I think he was just stunned with shock, to be honest. I'd say he probably never moved out of that spot for the next 40 seconds.
I've seen that photograph a few times, and I'm kind of not one of my best moments. But look,
look, if you can look at photographs in different ways, but to me, it just is passion written all over it. It's like
that was early.
That was what?
No, it was kind of early on in the game, and you were kind of thinking we need everything going our way. The little.
There was nothing in that game, though. Really, there was. We were very unlucky again.
Yeah. Few scores went to begging, but look, it's kind of yeah.
This man over to the right, do you recognise him?
I don't, Sean.
That's Henny Muller. Henny Muller was a legendary South African flanker. Do you remember when we were struggling in Division 2 and we came out onto Slasher's pitch for training one day? And Dave came over and he said, right, lads, we're doing Henny Mullers today.
I do.
And a Henny Muller was a run that started at one corner of the field and you ran the width of the pitch, the length of the pitch, and diagonal twice.
Yeah.
And the picture underneath, I suppose, was how we perceived each other for the weeks afterwards as two-legged horses.
I actually do remember it now a year ago, yeah. It was Dave Haver was kind of
I never forgot that. Never forgot that name.
Henny Muller. Yeah. I actually remember it now, Sean, but I kind of, if you had said it, it's coming back to me now, but that time the training we did with Glenn Ryan was ferocious. I don't believe there's been any training even up to this day as tough. I've never trained as hard. I'm not sure even with Paul of the county team now has to train as hard. But there was
nights we did 14 400s.
Yeah, and then 10 300s, 10
Yeah.
200s, 10 100s.
Yeah.
Like, you'd be lucky to go home, like, without crashing the car,
As you were saying, you couldn't get the seatbelt on you before. As you said, you couldn't push the accelerator.
No, that's true. Yeah, that is true, Sean.
Yeah, but it's like that old thing, when we were struggling, sometimes you think the answer is to run harder, but
Yeah, less is more sometimes.
yeah, definitely less is more, for sure, for sure. Davey, how important is football to you now?
I think it's very important. It's just like it's where most of my friends are. The lads you grew up with, the lads you went to school with. So I think it's since leaving the county and different things, I was to treasure the club in my own club last year, and enjoyed it. But like, it's kind of, I think it's just very important to you. Like, you get out, you socialize with these people, and just the training. A lot of times, you look back on your career and you'd say some of the best times might have been down in the training field or in the dressing rooms, the crack you've had with the lads, the
Yeah,
banter that you had, and I think you just realize now how important the GAA is, like, the community spirit that's around Longford, around all our clubs. But I think even, for your mental health as well, just getting out, training, bouncing things off other lads, whatever it may be for different lads. But look, I think it's very important. I was doing under 13s with the club, but that all stopped when the COVID-19 came. But look, it's very important still, in my life anyway. I always will be, I think.
is your mindset different now as a player?
It's easier to. I still need to win, Sean, but it doesn't last as long. The pain or the hurt.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because you're older and you think, look at, but no, you don't worry about it as much. Like, you're trying to enjoy it more so than, kind of worrying about what you did or what you didn't do.
Yeah.
Um,
Would you
you know,
give any alternative advice to a younger you now coming on to a county setup, or would you change anything?
I would definitely spend more time on the football field than I would in a gym. That's for my last number of years at Longford, because I spent too much time, and I missed some very big days with Longford, doing the wrong types of training. But no, I think you can't be having a ball in your hand, being out kicking ball over the bar, and don't worry, because I think some players develop a lot younger than others, and then vice versa. Some players develop a lot later, and I would say I'd be the latter in that, because I think I developed later into my career. I'd say my best years were when I was 28, 29, with Glenn Ryan when he was in. That's when I felt that I was most comfortable playing with Longford, for whatever reason. But anyway,
That's an excellent point, too.
Because I remember with Father Manning Cup teams with Paul, and Paul was there was a huge team. David Blessington was on the Burn Cup team with Paul, and footballers like that. But I didn't make them Father Manning Cup teams. We had our own clubman over it, John McMullen, and it just wasn't good enough. But like, that's just the one thing I'd say, if anyone listening that's a young player now, like, don't give in or don't give up because you're not making something, because you can develop. Yeah.
Yeah, there's always time, and it's hard when you're younger to see that, because it's like a now or never thing. But it could be years, it could be months, but your time will come. Like,
Your time, like, and you might have managers, structures, and philosophies. Hello.
yeah, yeah. Sorry, I just lost you there for a minute.
Hear me, Sean?
Yeah, I can hear you now, Debbie. Yeah.
just might develop management. So like, just to stick with it, you know.
Yeah.
Always is best.
Just check your mic again there, Davey. It's just a bit. It's coming in and out. Can you hear me now?
Okay.
Great, Davey. I have you back now. Davey, how would you like to be remembered from your career?
I suppose the ultimate team player and someone that gave everything for Longford and Clonguish when I was playing. Was that's I'd like to think I gave equally as much when I was playing for the club as I did for the county, you know. I just really enjoyed playing, you know, on the big days with both county and my club Clonguish. That's what I'd like to be remembered, yeah.
Well, I have to kind of input here and just say, like, you are the ultimate team player. Like, I even from a young age, I remember certain roles you played in Longford teams and your willingness to play anywhere, you know, and you know, you made so many sacrifices. You were kind of that player, like you could kick scores if you wanted to, but you were always looking for the man in the better position, and you were kind of ahead of your time in that way as well. Like you were a joy to play with. You really were. I remember one game against Laois, actually, in particular in the National League, could have been Division 2, and I think you were playing. Were you midfield or centre forward that day? I don't know. You got it into your head that you were going to turn over a ball anyway, and you must have turned over 10 or 11 footballs in the first half. Like, and it was just sheer determination, sheer focus, and just like a drive, like just like you were honing in that aspect of your game, and it was a massive part of our team. You know, it was just so selfless. You know, that it was never about you, and you never wanted it to be about yourself. And I always admired that about you.
Thanks, Sean.
I mean,
it's nice coming from someone like you, yeah. I know it's kind of there was some great memories over the years with Longford and playing with yourself. We had
that's a crack as well.
we had lots of crack. Can't say it now, but some good days.
For sure. David, great. I'm going to finish up with 2 on-the-spot questions for you. Are you still there, yeah?
Yeah, I'm there, Sean, yeah.
Triple threat match. Who'd win? Enda, Paul, or yourself?
What is that, Sean? What's a triple threat?
Triple threat would be 3 men going at each other. Last man standing.
Enda.
That easy.
Very easy, yeah.
Right, very good.
I'll give an example. Enda used to be playing years ago, and Enda come down the right hand, like in any game, he'd be coming down the left hand side of the field, and he put out the right arm because he'd be kicking with the left foot. And Brendan Burke used to be saying it's like a hydraulic lift, you know. It's just this big arm pushing it. But anyway, yeah, Enda there.
100%. No, even when David Barden was in beast mode.
Oh yeah. Oh, look at.
Very good. And second one, Davey, Snickers or Mars bar?
Snickers.
Snickers. Do you remember Belfast? We shared a room, a training camp.
I do. That was one. Yeah.
And we were bored silly in the room. And I think you went out. I don't know whether you went to the shop or the vending machine, but you came back with this plastic bag full of chocolate. You just pegged it at me in front of the bed, and you said, "Eat that, you." And you had this look. You had this look like if you didn't know you'd think you were being dead serious. And another fellow would have thought, God, if I don't eat this now, it's the end of it all for me. You know, it was very funny. I actually think I ended up disturbing you more that night with me talking in the sleep and whatnot.
I wasn't going to let you off there. I remember we were finishing up. Glenn was out there putting us through our paces, and we kind of came back that night, and we were asleep in the bed anyway. And next minute, I just heard this talk, and I woke up maybe 3 or 4 in the morning, and there's this man pointing with a big arm to somebody in midair. I didn't know what was going on. but I just said nothing. I was fearing for my life for the rest of the night. Didn't know I was going to be smothered with the bedclothes or what. But
I think you went home the next day, did you?
I did. Got a little rally blanket.
Get me out of here quick. Oh, look at. I shouldn't drink. I shouldn't consume dairy. Put it that way.
Yeah.
Davey, thanks so much. It was just an honor to have you on, and like, thank you for sharing so much. You know, I know you mightn't have been, you know, just fully comfortable, but it was just great to get your story. You know, because you're one of Longford's greats, and that's the way you should be celebrated. And I'm not going to say much more because I think that sums it up.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks for the chat.
You're a gentleman, David. Thank you.
Take care, Sean.
Thank you very much.